Here we are. People, welcome to Junkyard Theory. Today's guest is somebody totally special. I've been wanting to get her on the show for months and months because ever since I started this show, I've always wanted the crazy lady who does the crazy sound effects from Instagram. And today she's here in the studio. Sanaa Kelley, thank you so much for joining.
Ayubawan.
How you going? To you too. It's been months in the making, and we're finally here. And I'm so pumped to hear about your origin story. How did you get into Foley?
Okay, so yeah, so it's a funny story, not really funny. So I was just, finished high school and stuff, and trying to find what I want to do in college, and I saw this guy working. He's using like a doorknob to do a sound of a gun moving, vice grips of like vice grips and a doorknob together for someone walking with a gun. I'm like, what are you doing? He's doing footsteps for a screen, someone walking on a TV show. I'm like, why are you doing this? Isn't it in production? Like, don't they shoot it? Then you have to go through the whole process of explaining, you have to add it later. You have more control of it if there's noise on the set and stuff. I'm like, well, I started walking like when I was like a year and a half. I know how to walk. I could do this easy. So he's like, oh, yeah, you can. I'm like, yeah. And you get paid to play with this stuff? He's like, yeah. I'm like, sign me up. So put on the mic, put some shoes on. I'm like, could not get one step on. I was like, because, when we walk forward, right? But when you're doing Foley, you have the mic pointing at you and you have to walk in place, make it sound natural, dynamic, as if you're walking forward. Like if you're walking to the stairs, you don't move the mic to the stairs. There's no one following you around with the mic because, again, you're going to pick up the noise. So, and how big is, what are you going to do? Keep running in a circle? You can't. You have to do it in place. So then he's like, tried like a couple takes. He's like, you know what? Some people have it. Some people don't. You don't have it. And I was like, challenge accepted. So then I just got the yellow pages. I'm aging myself because we don't have yellow pages now. So for the youngsters, it's like Google, I just looked for studios around me and I'm like, hey guys, I make really good coffee, I could clean like no man's business, so can you please train me? I got maybe like 99% no's. And one studio was like, yeah, sure, come on over. You seem fun. I'm like, and we like coffee. I'm like, you would not regret it. So then I go to the Foley stage and the Foley artist is like, yeah, get out. I'm like, excuse me. They're like, yeah, we don't teach people. This is a really small niche. We don't want to take our jobs. So you're not allowed in here. And there is usually a glass between the Foley mixer and the Foley artist. They shut off the lights so I wouldn't see. So I sat in. It's really typical in this business. So I was able to sit with the Foley mixer. And he's like, sorry, they won't let you. There's not. I'm like, no, I'm happy to be sitting with you. So I learned to see sync because he's like, no, that was out of sync. I saw how he moved it. And so I learned to use my ears and learn why he doesn't like certain things. And then I asked the dubbing mixer, like the person that gets the Foley, the sound effects, the dialogue, the music, the backgrounds, and mixes them all together, before they put it in for the TV. I asked if I could sit in the sessions. And he's like, yeah, absolutely. So then I was able to see what they don't like, what they like. So I really developed good hearing. And I just showed up every single day, cleaned after the artist, prepped for them, pulled props for them. And then when they're like, oh, what is this prop that you pulled? It's wrong. I was learning, even though they were upset with me, but it's great because I learned what's wrong and why. And I just sit there with the mixer, learned every day until one day they had a low budget movie. And he's like, do you want to do it? I'm like, yes. He goes, it doesn't pay. I'm like, yes. So I had the opportunity to be there and kept practicing and practicing. I think within a year, I had a job that wasn't paying. They started paying me like $11 an hour, which was great. You know, back then the minimum wage was $5 an hour. So I was like, score, you know?
Yeah.
And then just kept practicing and learning. And I'm still practicing and learning till today. So that's like the long version. So.
Gotcha. And real Foley sound, how did this name come about?
So I opened my company in 2016. And like, then I tried to think, what do we do? Like we're movie reels, you know, because when I started, it wasn't digital picture. We used to get the reels and put them around and stuff, you know, that's, you know, 26 years ago. So it's a movie, you know, it's a reel. And Foley is what I do, and sound. So it's real Foley sound. So it's that's what I came out with it. It was like I was sitting with my sister, brother-in-law, and my husband were like, what should we do? I want Foley sound to be there, but like, I don't want film. I wanted something different, you know? So I came up with it. You started off with
the very, the most organic form of it, right?
Yeah.
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 That's cool. And so Foley, this particular art, it's very how do you call it? It's very like you said, niche, and not many people really know much about it because it's pretty much invisible. And the work that you guys do blends in with the movie. But if you don't have Foley, it just, I don't know what movies can sound like without this. So when you approach a project, how do you start?
Okay, that's a very good question. So the first thing I do is when you do a movie, there's a sound supervisor. A sound supervisor is like the go between the director, producer, the client, and the sound people. So the sound supervisor, he or she are in charge of dialogue editors, Foley, effects, background, music, and I'm forgetting someone. Soundtracks? I don't know. Whoever, I forgot. So anyway, they're in charge of all that. They're there during the mix and everything. So the sound supervisor will sit with the client and watch down the entire film and take notes, Foley note, effect notes, and stuff like that. So then that sound, depending on the budget of the film, feature, TV show, I may have another different spotting session with the sound supervisor, or if I already have a relationship with that person, we've worked together, they'll just send me the notes. So then I'll look at the notes, just read them, and then we do a cloth pass. When I do a cloth pass, I have the microphone pointed at literally my stomach. I'm gonna use this as an example. Obviously nothing this soft. It's like jeans and a t-shirt and stuff. It's pointed, it's like lower here. And anytime someone moves from beginning to end of the movie or TV show, I'm doing cloth movement for them. The entire thing. I have headphones on. One ear will have the production that they have when they were shooting, and the other ear, I am hearing my room, my cloth. So I know if I'm being too jerky, too sharp, or anything like that. And then, so I'm watching the whole thing, and I'm taking notes, and I'm remembering the notes that was given to me. Ooh, that's why that's important. The production is bad on that. Or, you know, the production is wood when it looks like marble. So they're going to replace it and do ADR to remove stuff. So we'll do cloth, and I'm taking mental notes. And after that, someone already went through the entire film or TV show and cued it for us. Meaning if someone is walking from here to there, like let's say Sanaa is walking, wearing heels on wood and stops. So someone will put like an empty region of Sanaa footsteps, heels on wood. So they do it from the first step down to where it stops. And it's a 3-second rule. If that person doesn't move for 3 seconds, you make another region. So we have all these blank regions that we do each character on their own for every single person, groups, everything. And then we do props. We divide it up to categories. We do all the hands to skin, all the hands to body. We do all the sits, all the wood chairs. We do runs, you know, like anything they touch. All the food will be by itself, like fork to plate, fork to mouth, chewing. We'll have different categories. So we do all the food because it's a setup with the miking. You know, if we get the hands, if we have to move it every time to do what's going on, then we'll never finish on time. And, you know, then we got a good sound going and we just roll through it.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
It's pretty intensive, right? I mean, like you have so many sound effects like within any particular scene, and although you do create or recreate sounds, whatever you see, sometimes it kind of gets buried underneath the score or the dialogue and all that. So doesn't that kind of feel like a waste effort sometimes, or I'm pretty sure you already have a very good reason why you do everything that you do. So what can you say about that?
So what the beautiful thing about Foley is when it lays in there, you're not supposed to hear it. That's why people don't know about Foley. It's just supposed to blend in beautifully, right? If you hear it, it's a mistake, right? So it could be a mistake unless it's supposed to. The dubbing mixers that I work with, the recording mixers, they really love Foley. I mean, all of us are like total sound nerds, and that's what we live for. So everyone in the business really wants to play everything, but it has to be natural. When you're watching a movie, do you want to hear the sound effects and Foley blasting, or do you want to hear the storyline? So you want to make sure you hear the dialogue. And sometimes, you know, if they play 60% of my work, I'm happy because, you know, but you never know what they're going to need. The client may be like, "Ooh, I hate Foley," you know, try to play it as little as possible. You know, they have to play it when they need it, but then they're not gonna, like, they try to push it as much as they can because sometimes, you know, it just sounds wrong. And there are moments where music is gonna play. You could have someone walk in slow-mo and we get every step perfectly. It may take us an hour to get a scene. It's a music montage. And when you watch it, it's like, I would have done the same thing, you know? So it's an artistic and whatever the client wants. So, and the client is always right.
Goes without saying in any industry, I guess.
The client is always right.
What about when you like let's say you create a specific sound effect for a particular scene, well, multiple sound effects, and you send it back to the director or the client, and then they have they asked you for changes? I mean, like they're the ones who send you the instructions, but based on that, yeah, you create whatever sounds are needed. But how do you deal with those changes if they occur at all?
So we once in a while we get requests to, hey, can you change something? Usually if I get a phone call, hey Sanaa, can you do it? Yeah, I can, but I really don't want to. So usually if it's a client I know, they laugh. If it's a new client, they're like, what? I'm like, no, I'm just kidding. I did lose a client by trying to be funny, but I'm like, yeah, absolutely. So it's what the client wants. So there is something that I learned recently, you know, when I worked on Those Who Wish Me Dead with Mr. Alan Murray. You know, he was the sound supervisor for Joker. He won 2 Oscars, amazing. So when I was working with him, you know, it was like really challenging because it was a whole different level. And when I was working with him, I'm like, well, what I really like my sound, you know, what if they change it? Like because whenever I get frustrated, he was like my mentor. I would call him. I'm like, why would they change it when it's actually beautiful? What they want is not right. He goes, well, a lot of time it's not the sound supervisor's choice, really. You have the showrunners and you have the picture editors. So the picture editor works like really intimately with the director and the client. So what happens is the picture editor will go through and cut the picture, right? And they have to send it to the client, the network, whoever's watching it, the bosses. And they put some PFX, some production sound effects, and they put some temp stuff like temp music, temp Foley. It's temporary, okay? Yeah. So the problem is it may not be the best sound or the best thing for it, but they already send it to the network. They already send it to the director. So sometimes mentally they're married to that sound. They like that sound. That's what they're envisioning. So if you change it too much, they'd be like, whoa, what is that? Like, I like that one bad sound. Well, not bad sound. So then you're like, oh, you want me to match that? So what he told me is like, whatever the editor gives you, we get tracks for that. Even though it's not correct, do it the way they did it and give them an alt of what you really want. So when I did that, it started saving me so much more time. So when the client will call me like, hey, I really want, you want me to match what the editor did? Perfect. I put a muted track there. Just open it up. It's there. And they're like, oh, great. So, it's like,
cool.
Live and learn, you know?
Yeah. It's crazy, right? I mean, like, even with 26 years in the business, then every single day something kind of like comes along and surprises you.
Yeah.
And how does, creating Foley change with the genre of the movie that you're working on? Are there any specific props that are like reused consistently through like maybe like the horror genre or the action genre? Like, is there anything like that?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, there's like the really cute love story. You don't need to break anyone's bones and do car crashes. So it's a really nice, a lot of hand touches, a lot of kissing yourself, when they're kissing and stuff, and a lot of bed movement and stuff, your creaks, So that's, a really nice scene. And then you get, shows like Lacey's Story on Apple TV that we did, where you have someone is biting someone's hand off or biting their hand, and monster walking and stuff, and just like eating chicken, fried chicken, and just cutting someone up and stuff. Yeah, it's completely different than a nice little bed squeak, or for Those Who Wish Me Dead with Angelina Jolie, where there's a lot of body falls. There's a car crash. I remember, I did the thing, and I was really proud of myself. The movies come in reels, and it's like 12 to 16, between 12 to 20-minute reels, And I finished for reel one, sent it to him, like, really proud of myself. He's like, or reel two, I don't know which reel that was. I'm like, yeah, I listened to it. I'm really good. He listened to it. He's like, yeah, you're okay. I'm like, what the heck? What do you mean I'm okay? I'm great. And he's like, where's the car crash? I'm like, what do it look like? Sound effects? Do you think I have a car here? He's like, I'm like, what is sound effects doing? Sleeping? And he's like, oh no, this is a whole different level. You gotta give me a car crash. He goes, you don't know how to do a car crash? I'm like, of course I do. I was just kidding. And inside I'm like, oh my gosh, how am I gonna do a car crash? So when this car crashes forever, like flips over, there's a tire spinning as it's flipped over, just twirling, and it starts raining on top of it. I'm like, oh, sound effects. And he's like, oh no. And I'm like, oh, how am I gonna do that? So 19 tracks later of layering.
19 or 90?
19.
19, okay.
It was like any bounce we had to do, like when it hits, like a little squeak that happens with dirt as the car is rolling down. Dirt is hitting the bottom, so I had to get a hood and get dirt and just keep hitting dirt on it. And when it flips, I had to get a tailgate, like get it and hit it. Any bounce, and then when it rolls over, and then we had to, my mixer had to like play with add more low end and stuff. And what I had to do also is get a resonating floor, which is a raised wood, and put like a hollow, like old leather suitcase and pile a bunch of dirt on top of it because it was on dirt and rocks. So what it does, it gives you the big boomy big feel. And I had to get off my fancy like mic stand that I spent so much money on and get a cheaper one and have it touch the same floor so it adds more boom. And then I had to put everything on top of it and hit so it sounds bigger than life. And for the wheel spinning, I set it on top of the same wood so it sounds bigger. I got a chair I had at home that anytime my kids will sit on it, I'm like, oh my God, stop squeaking. I'm like, oh, a squeak. So I got it and I kept spinning it for the tire spinning. So it goes like that. I lost my voice. I couldn't even do it. So and then to rain on, I got like a watering can, put the hood upside down, got on a ladder, and I was just like, watering it as my other partner, Foley partner, was going like that with their hand to make sure it sounds like rain. Then I got my fingers and I went like on top of it to hear the raindrops, kind of like in addition to it took us 8 hours to do like a minute worth of footage.
Holy shit.
Thank you. I can't say that. Yeah.
That's crazy.
It was nuts.
I mean, filmmaking itself is, like we call it problem solving. Like you're problem solving on set, you're problem solving before, like you go on set during pre-production, all of that. I had absolutely no idea that Foley was this problem solving area. Like it's crazy.
You know how they say fix it in post?
You guys literally do that.
Yeah, that's us. Yeah.
Sanaa, how do you guys like deconstruct the scene? So you just told me about this one particular the car flip. So yeah, we've had car flips in like other movies and all that, and certainly in this one, like you guys had to level up. But like let's say something comes down to your studio, which is probably a scene that has never been done before. How do you deconstruct that and start doing the Foley?
Well, you just have to think, if you don't know how to do it, you just think one step at a time, layers, for example, an easy thing, for example, tap dancing. I'm not a tap dancer. Don't give me tap dancing, hire a professional, get good production sound. But like sometimes the client is like, I don't have the money for it, help me out, I'm like, I'll try. So I'll do like layers. I'll do the toes, I'll do the heels, but like every step is like 3 steps to it. So I'll do it in 3 layers and condense it together. That's like with everything, we just have to take one, like, don't try to do it all at once. I know a lot of my videos, I'm like, oh, look, I'm going to share the screen and do it all at once. I'm just doing it for the visual. We don't do that. We do one thing at a time because different levels and everything. So you just have to take it one step at a time. And also remember, you have the director, the producer, the writer, all these people, and the actor, they did so much work. They poured their heart and soul into this project, acting, getting the perfect shots and everything, right? The set, so much lighting. There's so much that go into people that make the films, and they hand you their baby, and you're supposed to really do your best to make it beautiful. You are acting with sound. The actor is acting and walking and doing such a tremendous, incredible job. And it is any Foley artist's job to really bring that to life, because they're not going to use their sound. So we're acting with sound. If someone is happy, there is a little upbeat to their sound. That's why it's important to listen to production, because when you're doing cloth, because then you're learning their personalities. You're hearing in production the little shuffles they do. What do they do? Like some person would just do a little, just walk, first step forward. Another person would do like shuffle, shuffle, then walk, and that's the signature move. So you gotta, like, you are acting with sound, there is emotion. A sad step, like a happy step, when you walk, I do like a little upbeat to it. When someone is sad, there is a little drag to it, because they're sad, there's, you gotta act with sound. And also the shoes. You gotta pay attention to the shoes. Some shoe may look one way, but it really sounds different. If I don't like the sound of it, I will call the supervisor. I'm like, hey, the shoe you guys have in production. Now the production people will silence it as much as they can, but sometimes it pokes through. I really don't like it. I think I should have something more rounded, because in the mix, even though it's high, in the mix, they can't roll off the high end that much, but they could roll off the low end and thin it out. Can I give you something a little more full bodied? So you have more, room to play with it and EQ it the way you want to. Can I do that? And 90% of the time they say yes. And so this way, I'm able to give them better sounds on production, and they can play with it and also act it out, like the actor is.
It really struck me when you said, like, you guys are essentially performing with sound, and that's crazy. Like the little nuances within a performance, not just within the performance, but within a scene itself. Maybe how somebody moves a prop, depending on their emotion. Like, you gotta connect with that and then apply that. Be true to the story, right? Essentially, what you guys are also doing is adding more layers to serve the story better. Correct me if I'm wrong.
Yeah, sorry, there's a little delay.
Okay, sorry.
What was that? Can you repeat the question?
No, I was just saying, correct me if I'm wrong with what I said. Like, you guys are adding to the storyline itself by connecting with the actors, like the whole emotion within a particular scene, yeah?
Yeah, absolutely. We try to add to the story. Like I said, the actors are doing an incredible job, like translating the scene and bringing it to life. And we add the emotion. It's like you said, the little nuances that we add, the little organic nuances. Someone said to me, actually, do you reuse your sound? That's sound effects does that. Even sound effects built new sounds. We don't reuse the sound. Everything's done organically. If I'm rubbing my hands this way, yeah, there's a ton of libraries of hands rubbing, right? But exactly this way, I'm sad. I don't know what I'm doing. I'm nervous. There is a nervous sound to my hand. If my hand is supposed to be dry, which my hand is always dry because I'm an artist, because I watch them. But like, if your hand is supposed to be dry, you gotta do the dry sound of the hands. Sometimes I even put like a little coffee grind to my hand if someone looks like, the hand is supposed to be drier than it's supposed to. Or like soft, you use the softer part of your hand, and, and then sometimes things that my Foley partner will do versus I do. I did something for recently for a show. There was a guy shaving, and I did it with my hands because you get like the really dryness, and then my Foley partner left a little early, and I'm like, Bozo, why did you leave? I don't have a beard. So I'm like, well, it's scratchy enough, it's fine. We got a pickup. And I joked to the supervisor. I'm like, yeah, I'm really sorry. My Foley partner thought I had a beard. Maybe because I'm from Morocco and I'm really hairy, but I really don't have a beard. And she was just cracking up. She goes, just do a pickup. Then I called him like, excuse me, Matt, did you think I have a beard? He goes, oh yeah, sorry.
That's hilarious.
Yeah.
So when do you, a small doubt that's in my head, when does a production use sound effects versus Foley? Like you said, sorry, go on.
That's a very good question. I get a lot of people that ask me that. What is Foley? What is sound effects? It's a fine line. Like, for example, a car crash on a TV show, I wouldn't touch any of it. I wouldn't do it. TV show, we get a day to 2 days to do it, 45 minutes. I can do it. It's, it took me 8 hours to do one little scene. I'll never finish. I work a lot with Warner Brothers, and we have amazing sound people. Amazing sound effects people. We're actually gonna do something very soon with Warner Brothers for the show The 100, and we're gonna show you what Foley versus effects, how we work together, and that's in a big thing. So you guys are gonna love that. So that's the big little surprise that is no longer a surprise because you just blurted it out. So that's fun. So for example, if someone walks to the car, opens the car door, sits down, starts the car, and drives away. So obviously the footsteps are us. If they put the hand on the car door, it's us. They put the hand to open the car door. We could even do the latch to it, but sound effects will add the actual latch open and the door swing open. Sometimes we'll add a little squeaks to the door if it's really old, but usually sound effects will cover that. sitting in the car. I have actually a car seat in my studio. We'll do the car seat. I have a car door too. We'll do the sit in the car, like, the butt down, the back down, sound of that. I mean, the butt and back are going to sound different. The butt is bigger than the back, unless someone's going to go lounge themselves. And then the hand to steering wheel. Usually when people come in, they like to put their hands on steering wheel, always. And then the keys in the ignition. Usually don't just have the keys. Sometimes they get in the car, then they look for it. I don't know why actors do that. Stop doing that. Then they do that. Take the car keys out, or they jingle them the whole way. They put in the ignition. So I'll try to do the put in the ignition, but they turn it. I'll do the sound of it turning. But the actual car ignition, turn, and starting the car, that's sound effects.
Gotcha. Driving,
skidding, any of that is sound effects. For bigger budget stuff, they may ask me to do it. Like someone, when they see them accelerate and hit the gas pedals and stuff, if it's a big budget, they'll ask me to do the sound with the pedal hitting. If not, some TV shows, effects will get it.
Gotcha.
So, and sometimes we both do it. We both do it because we're more organic sound. So get their sound and smooth it out. When you put it together, then it sounds beautiful. It sounds natural.
Got you.
Not saying that sound effects are not natural. They're incredible. Like you could see a lot of the shows. They're just geniuses.
So for specific things, like let's say, all right, you have like a BMW that's started and the engine sounds. So are those sound effects like that specific model of a BMW? Is that sound effect, or do you guys Foley that in?
That's sound effects. They have libraries and libraries and libraries of sound effects. Bigger budgets, I know because I worked a lot with Warner Brothers. That's why I keep referring to them. They basically have people that go on the field and record certain things. Like I remember when they were working on Godzilla, they actually, one of the people that works there told me this. They actually, when they were shooting into the car, they actually did gunshot sounds throughout the studio, and they had a microphone inside the car, so you hear the sound of what the gun sounds like. Like they get really, really particular and good, and the attention to detail is crazy good. Like they go on the field and do it as accurately as they can.
Wow.
Yeah.
All right. This is getting crazier the more I listen to you. This is so good.
Yeah.
we got a few questions here as well. I'm just gonna hop.
Okay.
What was the most difficult sound design you've ever done?
Okay, so it would have to go back to Those Who Wish Me Dead and Lisey's Story. So the Lisey Story and some of the 100. Those were quite difficult. But when you're done, you're like, yes, Those Who Wish Me Dead, the car scene was definitely difficult. And the house exploding, that was like, I left it for sound effects. And then I did like a little dust debris settle. And that's when I got a call from Alan Murray. He's like, you skipped the house exploding. I'm like, yeah, I did the debris. He goes, what is this, television? I'm like, how rude. What do you mean? He goes, I want to hear the tiles. He said this, being ripped out of the shingles, being ripped out of the building. I want to hear the drywall coming off, spinning. I want the wood pieces coming, landing, dropping, the big rocks, the little rocks. Because you know what I'm talking about? Like, oh yeah, I got you. I know exactly what he's talking about. I hang up on my, oh my gosh, we're gonna blow up the house. so then Matt and my Foley partner was just like, okay, we got this. How are we gonna do it? I'm like, well, first we're gonna cry, and then we're gonna attack it. So then we just went to Home Depot, and then we just loaded up with those pots, when you buy the big pots and they have the thing so it doesn't leak through those plate things.
Yeah.
So we got those for the roof tiles, because the actual roof tiles sounded really ceramic-y, high-endy. But if we got the clay ones, and this is after we bought everything from home, I shouldn't say the Home Depot, I should say hardware store. Home Depot, you get a payment for saying their name? No, I'm just kidding. So you get
sponsor Sanaa and real Foley sound like right now.
right. So then we got on the ladder and we just keep throwing them on the floor, breaking them. Then we got bricks. Then we got a lot of drywall, but we didn't like the sound of the drywall. A lot of it got like drowned out with the high ends. So we put drywall against wood and we could just smacking it and glass shattering. Then after we did that layer, then we had to the details, anything that kind of rolled in front of us. We had to roll it and have it hit. Every single hit had to match. So yeah, Lisa's story was difficult because I had to do the eating because I could eat like a pig and I love food. So he was eating chicken. I'm like, score, I get to eat fried chicken guilt-free because it's my job, you know? I don't eat like fried food all the time. Oh my gosh, I couldn't eat chicken for like a month because anytime he bites it, you could see when the actor is biting, like imagine they go, and they swallow.
Yeah.
And then if it's a bad cut, so I'm biting, and the next cut he's swallowing. I'm like, son of a gun. How did he chew? He needs more time to swallow, but you gotta fix it.
Oh. She just popped out.
Am I so?
Yeah, you're back.
Yeah, so the swallowing is different, you know, like, so then I have to do it and make sure the swallow is included, that chew, the swallow. So we have to keep doing it. For like a little short scene, I ate so much fried chicken, you know, every chew has to match. And when they're talking and eating, it's like, are they talking? Are they chewing? What are they doing? You know, like, so you have to make sure you're not getting when they're talking, you're doing what they're actually chewing. So sometimes they talk, they chew, they talk, you know, we have to keep doing it and doing it and doing it. So yeah, it's challenging, but it's fun because half the time when I go, oh my God, I want to eat another chicken. So yeah, that's
oh my God. Talk about getting traumatized on a work set.
Yeah, but I could eat chicken now. I'm good.
That's good to know.
Yeah.
We've got broad, so could be a broad general sounding question here. Any tips on how to make sounds that don't necessarily exist in the picture? For example, someone is on a bus, but they're actually imagining that they are on this bus. And the sounds we hear wouldn't actually be a bus. It needs to be something that sounds like it.
I don't understand. Hold on. And so it makes sounds that doesn't necessarily exist.
Exist in the picture.
For example, someone is on the bus, but they actually imagine that they're on the bus. And the sounds we hear wouldn't actually be a bus. It needs to be something that sounds like it. I don't know. Do you get the question?
Andrew, could you just drop me a message, maybe with a little bit more clarification, if that's possible, and I'll pop it over to Sanaa.
Maybe if you're saying someone is imagining they're on the bus, but they're not actually on the bus, then yeah, we do sound of the bus, you know. Also, bus is a really good example.
So what he's actually asking is what could imitate the bus. So I think he's asking more about like, how do you replicate the bus sound with something that's other than a bus?
Oh yeah, I don't have a bus in my studio.
Exactly.
I replicate it without a bus. So there's two things. The buses, when you listen to them, airplanes, buses, trains, they're different kinds. There's some of them that when you listen to it, it sounds like a thin carpet on like a hard surface, just a hard cement surface, you know. Other ones, when you listen to them and they're in production and they sound like hollow wood, we have to match it because there's dialogue all over it. And unless they're going to go through an ADR the whole scene, you know what ADR is, right?
Yeah.
Unless they're going to go through an ADR the whole scene, we can't, you know, do anything about it, you know? So we have to match it if they don't ADR it. So we'll do like or sometimes I'll call the supervisor. I'm like, hey, this bus really looks metal, but it sounds wood. Can I do my metal steps? And they're going to align perfectly with your production. So when you put them together, there's going to be a wood element, but also a metal element. So they usually say yes. So I had custom made this diamond plate with this other hollower sounding metal, and I had them solder it. That sounds really good, and 2 ends soldered, and I put it on top of a hollow wood surface with carpet under it so you don't hear the rubbing, and I put a thick carpet over it, or rubber, whatever we see in the picture, and that usually ends up sounding really good.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Okay.
I know, it's a long explanation. It's a lot to it. There's a lot to it. And also miking plays a big deal on it. How you mic it, you gotta know your room. Your shoes too. Like, even if it's super high heels on metal, you don't use high heels. You use thicker heel, even though it's high, because all you're gonna hear is like really high ends, and it's gonna sound like a digital take, like a problem. So you're gonna be more rounded sound.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
I want to go back to what you said before, when it comes to, if you have dialogue on in a particular scene, and then like there's a specific sound effect kind of like baked into the dialogue as well. You gotta match that particular sound. What you just thought.
Sorry, you broke up for a second. Can you say it again?
So if there is a scene where you have dialogue, and also some sound effects from the production itself, you mentioned that you had to match that specific sound effect.
We always do. Yes, we always do. We call it topping production. So we have to match the production perfectly.
So, sorry, come again, what was the term?
Sorry, it's called topping production. So you have to match production perfectly, because so when you take out the English or whatever original language is, the production, if there's dialogue over it, right, that prop is gonna go away with the dialogue. So, and then when you take it to the foreign market, whatever market it is, they usually strip out all the English and they replace it with their language. So if you don't replace it perfectly, then it's not gonna match up or sound good, right? It's gonna be just like just the tail end of it or none of it at all. So that's why we have to cover everything anyway. And sometimes their goal is to catch as much dialogue as possible, right? Not the props or sound effects. So then usually they're not even using the real thing, like swords. They're not actually using the real swords, So what you do, you gotta make sure whatever, match it and make it better. That is your job. Make it more realistic than the fake prop, if they're using fake props. Like if they're using like a paper bag, they're not actually using the really crinkly paper bag, because you're going to hear that. You're not going to hear the dialogue. The microphone will pick that up. So they use usually like a clothy one that looks like it's a paper bag, so it doesn't step on the dialogue. So we have to add that. And a lot of times when they do ADR for an entire scene, they have a hum that they didn't hear during the shoot. And then they take it to post-production. It's like, oh, what is that hum? Oh, someone's fan or someone's phone was ringing or something. They have to do that in ADR. We got to replace all that. So we got to make sure it's solid. It's perfect. Because sometimes they can choose more production, less Foley. But if the production's not gone, it's all Foley. You're like naked. You got to make sure it's covered perfectly.
It's a lot more work than people usually think.
Yeah.
Certainly more than I thought.
Yeah, but it's fun. You gotta love what you do.
Yeah, definitely. There's a question here. So can you share your experience about working on Avatar: The Last Airbender? I would add a little more to this one. Working with live action versus animation. Could you kind of elaborate on that as well?
Working with live action, you have production that you're working with that you have to match as much as you can, right? Working with animation, there are no sounds. Everything is you. So that's one big thing. Back in the day, you mic'd it closer for animation because you're not matching anything. But now a lot of my cartoons, animation, they want a more natural sound. And so we treat it now the same as we treat a TV show, like a live action, because going towards like a more realistic sound. Avatar was my absolute favorite animation to work on, I have to say. It was just a pleasure. It was well done, really, really well done. The creators really paid attention to all the details. So, and everyone had their own shoes, like I had Ank's shoe versus the Fire Nation shoes. You get every actor has their own sound. So it was a challenge, because it's a fine line between Foley and effects, but we worked together and they blended them together and it was really amazing. And Appa was awesome. I used these plungers that I stuffed with toilet paper and then I put duct tape on it for the sound, for Appa sound, and his fur moving. I used some grass mixed with hair and stuff, when he's flying. It was a challenge. Every show was a challenge, but it was beautiful because we really believed in the project. So it was fun.
That's so cool.
And I'm a big fan too.
It's a whole different thing, right? I mean, like when you end up being a fan of something that you worked on, like
Yeah.
sometimes it tends to lose the magic while you're working on it. Like you don't necessarily enjoy it as somebody who would, see it for the first time. Like you go through scenes so many different times,
Yeah.
and ending up a fan of something like that, that means the storytelling itself is special. Yeah?
But I feel like it's an honor that my clients chose me out of the great people out there to work on their project, and it really means a lot to me. So I really give my heart and soul to every project, and I really believe in it. I love it because I'm like, well, they trusted me. Someone will put so much money, all their sometimes personal money, to their project, and out of all the people out there, they chose me. That's such an honor. So I don't want to disrespect their work. So I really take it seriously, and I'm like, even if I don't like the show, when I'm working on it, it is at that moment I tell myself, I may not like the show. It may not be my kind of movie. I don't like scary ones. So don't tell my scary movie people but like when I go in there, I'm like, this is what I love. I love to do it. This is, these people trusted me. So at that moment when I'm working on it, it is my favorite thing in the world to do. And that's how I approach every project. So just keep a positive attitude and be lucky that they chose me. And I think my clients feel that. So when all of you ask me what is my favorite show to work on, it's like asking me which one's my favorite child. Can't do that. I love them all.
Perfectly good analogy. Perfectly good one.
Yeah, so don't ask me that.
Do you ever come across these moments where you are probably at a party or something, or you're away from work. You're probably on vacation, like you were when I was bothering you a week or so back, and then and then something around you just sounds like that perfect sound effect, or the perfect Foley sound that you could possibly replicate in a place where you had difficulty, matching. So, have you ever come across something like that?
I'd buy it. It actually happened when I was on vacation in Turks, and they were we went scuba diving and snorkeling and stuff, and there was this huge, I don't even know how to say this, I think it's called a conch, the big thing. And they told us we could take it home, the shell. I'm like, oh, are we allowed to? He's like, yeah, absolutely. So then when I touched it, I'm like, from one part, it sounded like a skull. The other part, the opener, sounded like ceramic. I'm like, oh my God, this is just so perfect. If like you have someone's skull, you have to touch it like, without hair skull. So yeah.
Wow.
We went to Hawaii and those like necklaces, those,
the flowery ones.
Yeah, so I had to get some of those. Sorry, I don't know. Where are you?
I can't hear you.
There you are.
There you are. Okay.
Something happened to the internet.
It's all good. It's all good. I mean, you're out there on the world. It happens. It's all good. You're back now.
Am I back?
Yeah, you're back.
Okay. Sorry about that.
Back.
Okay.
No worries. So yeah, I had a question in my mind and like lost my train of thought. It's a filmmaker thing,
Yeah,
I
I
guess.
saw something like you were circling and going, yeah, sorry about that.
No, no worries, no worries. People, if you guys have any questions, just drop them in the comment section below, and Sana's ready to answer them. So yeah, and working, like you said, working in television versus film, like the time difference, the time duration that you have to complete a particular project, like you said, varies quite a lot. What's the fastest turnaround time that you ever had, like, and what's the longest that you ever had?
So for a TV show, like a 45-minute TV show, will get 2 to 3 days, you know, to do everything, 45 minutes. For like a film, you know, 80, 90 minutes, whatever, however long it is, there's some people that want you to do it in 5 days.
What?
Like, that's a little nuts. You know, I can't physically do it. Like, even if I did everything for a steak and I'm really good and have someone throwing props at me, I'm catching them to do it. It's not, you can't. You know, especially, I mean, unless it's super easy. So for a feature, it's usually 20 days, you know, to do really, really good job. You know, so I try to say, if you don't want a really good job done, you know, I won't edit. I will keep first takes, as many first takes as you can. You have to someone go through and edit everything. And then when something is borderline Foley or effects, it's going to be sound effects. We're going to leave it for sound effects. We're not going to layer for you, you know, to help sound effects. That's on you guys, because I don't want to rush through and not make it sound right, you know? So we have to do it that way. And yeah, so we have, you know, you have to meet your deadline, your budget, and also not hurt yourself in the process, because it is a job and you have to get paid and pay your people well. So it's a fine line. So sometimes you have to pass on certain shows or movies. But like, I think the problem, a lot of people spend all their money on production and forget that there's Foley. Excuse me, very important.
Most definitely.
Yeah. So.
And what about you know, for instance, like, let's say you're watching this movie that was, you know, done by somebody else, and do you ever catch on, like, the Foley, like, all right, that's not how it's supposed to sound. It's supposed to sound differently, or do you feel like there are moments that people could have done better, or moments where you yourself are surprised, and you ever like reach out and try to see how they did it?
So for the most part, when I'm watching like a movie or TV show, I usually like go brain check, like, you know, just shut it off, you're not working. I only pay attention to it if it's really good or really bad. So if it's really bad, I usually go on IMDb and check who worked on it. Like, interesting, you know. Then I say, well, it's probably they had a bad budget, you know. They didn't have enough time, so they had to do what they had to do. It's not really their fault. Then I watch another one, and it doesn't sound that great. IMDb, it's the same person. Interesting. And then again, so it happens more than 3 times, and I'm like, well, you know, at some point you gotta say no to doing it at a low price and giving yourself a bad name. And if that person called me, which it happened, to work for me, and I'm like, no, sorry, I can't hire you. I'm like, to be honest, I watch a few shows, here they are, and it was your name. The first one I said it's budget. The second one I said budget. The third time, you're taking that budget ones. You know, you gotta be choosy with your shows, and don't sign up for things like bad. It's bad for your name. So I cannot hire you because of that. Maybe in the future, if there's few in a row, message me the names and I'll watch it. But that is your reel. That's what you're doing to your name, you know. If it's not your fault, if the mixer messed up, send me the original stuff and I'll hear it. And they're like, yeah, I completely understand. Good ones, I'm usually blown away. And I look in IMDb, and I know a lot of those people, like it just happened recently. Can't say the name of the movie, but The movie was horrible. That's why I don't want to say the name of the movie. And but the sound was amazing. So I saw who the the Foley supervisor was. I called him. I'm like, hey, so I was watching this really crappy movie, but the sound was amazing. And then I went to IMDb, and it was you. He's like, oh my God, that was such a crappy movie, but the sound was so good. I'm like, I know, like you did such a good job. Who was your crew? And he told me the name of the artist. I'm like, of course it was that person, like, yeah, great work. He's like, yeah, we had 20 days to do it. I'm like, for that caliber, like I would have taken a month. He goes, yeah, but a lot of it we kept for sound effects. I'm like, oh, that makes sense. But, awesome job on the work and horrible movie. He's like, I know. So I would have shared the name if I had only positive things to say, but since it was a long
that's fine. It makes sense.
Yeah. So
more of a technical question, like, I guess, what kind of mic do you? I'm not asking the brand or anything. Like, what kind of mic do you recommend for a Foley artist?
I don't mind sharing any of that information at all. Mm-hmm. So every mic. Okay, so if you go to my TikTok or my Instagram, there's a link in my bio, and the link is my website, and there's buy Foley gear. You're not buying it from me. It's the company that sold me most of the equipment, because I get asked the same questions. So what I had, they did a little interview with me, and then they wrote it down, and then they listed all the equipment I bought from them. And after they listed it, they put links we could click on it. But I also told them, hey, these are people that are starting out practicing at home. They should not be spending this much money. So I put for beginners one, you could see beginners on top of it. I chose ones to begin to practice at home. Obviously, you can choose it to give it to the client, but you could record yourself and see what it sounds like. So so they listed my stuff, and they also put professional versus beginner. So the professional also posted names of microphones I don't have, but I do like, wish I had, but I like the ones I have. If I had a different room, stuff like that. And I talk to a lot of technical people. I don't know why they think I'm technical, but I know they talk to me about it, so I learn. Even though I don't want to learn, you just automatically learn. So the mics I use the most is the KMR81, which is a Neumann, and a Neumann TLM170R. So one of the Neumann TLM170R is in the corner. We use as the far mic all the time. And I have another TLM170R with me for certain props, because it has like a bigger diaphragm. But the one I use a lot for close-up is the KMR81, also Neumann. So KMR81 for all my close-up stuff, TLM170R for some of the props, and as my far mic.
Got you. And so you use 3 mics, and is it sound captured all together or all together?
No, not all together. 2 at all times. 2 mics at all.
Okay.
So my mixer, when my mixer is mixing, so if I'm coming from far to close, he's doing more the far mic, less of the close mic. And then if it gets closer, more the close mic, less the far mic. So it's a balance, and it goes to a mono track, not a stereo. It's mono because we decide which one sounds. That's why a lot of times someone's like, oh, that person is walking from far away. You sound the same. Yes, my mixer is doing that. He or she are actually working, doing that. I'm giving them steady level, and they're doing that. Sometimes I'll fade it in, but you're not going to hear it. All my videos are from the microphone of a cell phone. I will not post my Pro Tools session because my client paid for that. That is their sound. I'm not going to put it on the internet for everyone to. A lot of people use my sound. I'm like, absolutely use it. It's my cell phone's microphone. It's not good quality. It's picking up the high end. It's making everything sound woody. It's not sounding right. You want to hear what it sounds like? Watch it on TV when you're on your TV. So I just don't think it's right to do that, And Foley is not cuttable, You got to act it out. So yeah.
And the particular, like the room, so that this affects the sound effects that you create as well, right? So is yours like this? Like, is it like a custom design, or are there certain industry standards when it comes to a
What
Foley
that
studio?
so I built my full studio from scratch.
Mm-hmm.
So basically, I have three different walls with 1 inch space between them, three different kind of installations. Like even
Mm-hmm.
the plug where you put it in, there's a special kind of putty noise reduction, so there's no noise that comes in. One of the ones is like a spray-on kind of installation, so it covers every single hole. Special
Yeah,
drywall. We even went to the foundation and we broke it all around, so there's no vibrations that enter the room.
got you.
So it's completely kind of isolated. We had special doors made for us with frames that are noise canceling doors. They're like, hotel rooms have noise quieter doors, so you're not supposed to hear them. This is
Yeah,
even more intense, and there's two of them on each side, and there's
got
like
you.
a space between them, so the noise kind of gets trapped. Even the wood, the framing, like if one wall has the wood, the 2x4 is here, the other one won't be parallel with it. It will be against it because you don't want the sound to come in, even though there's an space between them and insulation
Yeah.
on both. You don't want the sound to be bouncing between them and make a buzzing sound.
Oh,
It's this
right.
way. So there's no sound. So it's going from this beam going to insulation. It's not, there's no rattling, no noises, no extra stuff. And it's a science. And after we do all that with special drywall and stuff, there's drywall, insulations facing each other. And then on the outside where you guys see the gray stuff, those are sound absorbing sound, special material for sound that absorbs sound. So because if you're going to use like jeans or something like that, what's going to happen? Even the sound will bounce back, right? So you
Sure.
need a special behind the cloth. There is special insulation stuff that is healthy for us to breathe and also absorb sound. So basically, and the cloth is for sound. It's within each stitch, you're allowed the sound goes through and gets absorbed by the insulation. If you're going to do solid one that's not made for noise, again, it's going to bounce back. So the cloth, the way it is, it's like this, but it's really thin. You can see it. It allows the sound to go in when walking on heels or anything, and it gets absorbed. Again, we can't put it everywhere. Then it's going to be a dead room. Like when you're going to walk in, it's going to be like this, and everything's going to
Yeah.
sound dead. You have to leave certain spaces. So we have an acoustician that came in, clapping like a crazy person. He thought I was crazy. He looked really crazy. He's just clapping. He goes, I need one here. I need 3 inches way here. I want that there. So we could do outside versus inside. And there are certain areas where I always do inside, do outside. Even the ceiling has certain sound absorbing things. Everything has a reason for it. Nothing is placed for no reason. Even my water pit, the way it is, the way it's curved, the cement I'm using, everything is made for sound.
Wow.
And my placement is extremely important. You got to know what sound, like papers, if you can head on with it, it's going to be like if your paper is here and your mic is here, it's going to sound phasey. If you go up and above, it's not going to sound phasy. How far is the actor holding it plays a role, and how close you want it, how far, which mic to use. This is all comes with experience and trial and error. So
I was just gonna ask you, is that all experience or is it science, or like a combination
it's
of
both.
So.
I am a scientist, really, so that's what I went to school for. But I applied my science to designing my room. I look at sound as a science, and it's acting science, and trial and error and experience.
Before we wrap up, I got two questions. I think I saw one in the comments. I'm just gonna kind of modify that. How do you, as a Foley artist, charge for this? Your practice? Is it based on the film's budget, or do you go ahead with like flat rates, or is it subjective?
It is. It depends on the Foley artist. Obviously, if you're starting out and you're not that good, you're gonna be really cheap. You'll be free even.
Obviously, yeah.
You'll be lucky to have any work. Like when people want to do internship, you're not gonna get paid unless you're gonna do something else.
Yeah.
Like answer phones, do whatever if they need you. if they allow you in, you should be even lucky to be there, you know? So you're slowing down the process. You're a space taker at that point, because we're moving, you're just standing there. You may chew, move your foot, because you don't know everything gets picked up by the mic. So that's why we don't like people in the room with us. Second of all, like when you first start at the beginning, you're not that good. So you can't get paid as a Foley artist gets paid. And then once you get good, you join the union, you know, then the union kind of negotiates the price. If you're going to go work at a union house, they say, okay, you're $50 an hour. That's, you could actually check IETC. It's the Editors Guild. The local 700 is for Foley artists. And I think the price right now is like 50 something. That is like if you go work at a studio, or 52 something, I think. Something, it changes every year. But then when you have experience for so many years, you'd be like, yeah, that is the starting rate. I'm not working for that much, you know? And there's an 8-hour minimum, you know? You'd be like, yeah, I never go to the studio if I'm not getting my 8-hour min. I'm not gonna drive for 4 hours, you know? So, but I work at my company, but like if I was to go, I do go help out, I won't work less than 8 hours. I never worked less than 8 hours. I don't work by hour. And it's like a shift, a full shift. If it goes over the 9th hour, it's straight time. After the 9th hour is a time and a half. So, you know, the union is there to protect us, you know, and even if you're not working union, you should really keep it the same. It should not be ever any less than that, because what you're doing, you're not just, you know, you're not getting the work. Eventually you will get good and everyone's going to want to pay less. So all over the world should be charging the same amount, you know, check IETC, check the going rate. That's how much they're paying, and don't go any less, because you're setting a standard for what the client needs. And then they respect you more because they know you're good. You're not going to work for less. Obviously, those of us that work longer, we're not going to have been doing this for a long time. We're going to get paid more, you know, and because we're busy and we could choose the projects we're going to do. So, yeah, I hope that answers the question. And you have to also adjust with your client. If sometimes a client will call me, is like, I really believe in the project. They don't have a budget. I've done some free stuff when I had time, you know, for my clients. But I mean, right now we're so busy, you probably cannot do it. So don't call me if you want me to do something for free.
Not right now, maybe later.
Not gonna happen.
Just kidding. Final question for somebody who's interested in, you know, pursuing the same career path. What advice do you have?
You could go to audio school so you could learn the whole thing, but they're not really going to teach you a lot about Foley, because every good Foley artist is actually working, not teaching. But I am doing a workshop, so I'm eating my words. So yeah, so just if you want to take audio school to learn the whole thing, do it. Another thing you could do is do internships. Anyone that will take you, it doesn't have to be Foley, because most likely Foley artists will not teach you. If you're lucky enough, absolutely do it. But if not, try interning at a music studio, because when the stage is dark, is not working, you could practice there. You have microphones, you have floors, you have everything. But you also learn in the process of recording, getting to know mics, getting to know mixing. There's the whole process to get to know, and you may run into someone that would allow you to go in. I do have a workshop that you guys can join. Link is in my bio. If not me, take other people's workshops. Check out their IMDb, see what they've done. See if you respect the work they've done. If you heard of it, then you know maybe they should be teaching. I have some people that I know do workshops too. So just look into that. And then you guys have tons of my videos. Mute my sound, and I'm recording on my cell phone. Record yourself on your cell phone. Try to do sound to me, and then play it back and see if your sound matches my sound. I'm using my cell phone. You're using your cell phone. So it should be comparable, right? And then you work on your sync, your sound and your sync, you know? So practice sound, practice VC sync, see where it's off. A lot of times I do a lot of questions, where was I off, you know? And it's amazing that people aren't on this business. They really know. I feel like I'm training them. So proud of them. They see sin because sometimes they see it a little too much. I'm like, I didn't ask you this time. What are you talking about? I didn't know I was off. So anyway, yeah. So just practice, 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 and please be a positive, normal, happy person. If you're negative, go do some other negative job. We just want happy people in this job.
I think that's the peak of it, right? I mean, like you gotta be happy while doing whatever it is you want doing, and keep spreading that. And I guess just one more thing to add. If there's somebody coming down the way trying to learn what you do, probably like you should learn, help them out. It goes without saying, I guess.
I'm sorry, you broke up. 1 second, one more. Let me get closer.
No, what I was just saying is like if there's somebody who's coming out of the same field after you, don't necessarily, and you've taken like quite a few years to get to a particular place, it's just help them out. You know, maybe
Yeah.
they don't necessarily have to go down the same pathway. So
Yeah.
you could provide shortcuts, I guess.
Yeah.
That's the timeline.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I
which
hope
is what you're doing at
helps.
the workshop.
Yeah, I hope this helps. And if you're already an established artist, you know, just, you know, be nice to 26 years old me. Like years ago when I first, it was really horrible. Like when people didn't want to teach you, and it's really frustrating. But we didn't have the videos you guys have now. So, you know, like even if people are not nice to you, just try to be a good human, be a good person, and things will happen for you, and work hard. You know, that's what always what I think. Just work hard and try to do my thing, trying to stay positive and be happy at whatever you do, not necessarily Foley, anything in life. So
100%. Thank you so much, Sana. You've taken like an hour out of your very hectic schedule. You woke up at 4?
4 in the morning, so I could be here.
Yeah. Sri Lanka, that is Sanaa Kelley for you guys. And till next time, this is Junkyard Theory, folks.